it's not worth dying for. Does it take your breath away and you feel yourself suck?
Okay, one of my favorite memories of Ethan was he was in my lane partner in swimming. So he always wore Speedo every day in practice. And it was funny staying right behind him when he was doing the breaststroke. That was probably one of my favorites.
So he's always the first one to start sweating, like he's jumped in the water, yet he's never touched the water. And so then his favorite thing to do was to walk by and hug everybody as his sweat's just like getting on everything. Aww. Yeah.
And my favorite memory of Ethan was I would walk over to the choir room early and he'd be sitting in there eating cuties, and this cutie tastes like summer.
So my favorite memory of Ethan is on the bus trips back home from like big swim meets. We would always sit in the back of the bus and listen to Sublime and like sing and jam out the whole entire time, and it was awesome. So yeah.
I used to lifeguard with him, and every time I got to the rotation, it's called rove, I had to go around and ask each lifeguard what they needed or if they needed water or anything, and that boy always asked me for like 6 pieces of candy and all these drinks and pretty much like a 4-course meal, and I always got it for him.
He was wrestling with one of my really good friends, Braden, one day, and Braden is very, very gay. I'm just going to keep that up right there. And Ethan is very, very straight, but for some reason, Ethan always likes to wrestle with Braden, and only Braden. That's our joke. But one day, they were wrestling very close to my boyfriend's TV, and Ethan came around and grabbed Braden by the waist and flung him towards it, almost knocking down the TV. But you know what? That didn't stop him from wrestling him, so he just pinned him and left him there.
It's a very long-running joke in my group of friends, you know, and even the ones from Vernon, that I am a sociopath. I'm really not, but everybody loves to joke about it for some reason. And me and Ethan were having some real talk one day, and then, you know, I just stopped after he'd said something. I was just so surprised he had said it because he'd never said anything like that before. And I was like, dude, you have some very deep-seated psychological issues, and without missing a beat, just says the sociopath.
I remember one day with Ethan that he'd come into my car in the mornings and we'd listen to the radio, and he used to sing with me. So I have a mix, and it's a full album of some of his favorite songs, and I listen to it every morning now because I remember he just always used to sing to it. So I hear his voice whenever I sing to it.
Okay, my memory of Ethan is he used to always come to class, you know, dressed in his bow ties, different hair, and what was it, during homecoming, we were having Tacky Taurus Day, you know, and he wasn't dressed up, but he was dressed up like in his own way. And I said, Ethan, you know, why aren't you dressed up like a Taurus? And he was like, but I look good though. And so he was kind of showing off his outfit, and I remember that really specifically.
One of my favorite memories of him was when I was in Miss Wheatley's class and he had poked me in the side, making me scream.
One of my favorite memories of me and Ethan is when we would slide down the stairs over there, and he would try to push me off.
Ethan rode my bus for about 4 years. And the neat thing about Ethan is he would always high-five little kids when he would get off the bus. And he would always tell them bye. And so not only, you know, even if he didn't know him, he'd always high-five them and tell them bye. So I think that says a lot about him.
My first memory of Ethan is when he came in to audition for choir. I had never met him before, but he was a senior and wanted to do something fun his last year. So he came in and he told me that he did a wonderful Johnny Cash impression. So he had his audition, and it was interesting. He was definitely unexperienced with singing, but I thought he had the potential for it. So he ended up making it into varsity crew.
So the first memory I ever have of Ethan is when we were in kindergarten. We did a lot of weird things at Rivers, to be honest. Like, we sat like the ladybug patches and like picked out ladybugs. He'd always tell me something to go tell to the girls, and I'd go tell him that, and the girls would have me go. I'd be back and forth.
Miss Johnson's room is where we hung out every day for lunch, and she always has a pun on the board. I remember him coming up to the board because he was going to write something, and then he looks up, pauses, sees the joke on the board, and just like throws the eraser at the board and like stamps out of the room and doesn't come back.
My favorite memory of Kyle is being in Miss Johnson's room and eating lunch with him every day. I remember he used to make fun of all the puns she'd make on the board.
Well, Kyle was in my 4th hour, which is right before lunch. And during 4th hour, I discovered that there's this menu app where you can order food online, and then you can just go pick it up. Well, he was all excited about this as well, since we both love Sakura. So I ordered myself something and him something, and then he sat and ate lunch with me, and it was really fun.
Kyle. 3 years of memories with Kyle. Our first year was a little rough, didn't get along. But after that, we got along fabulously. He got my sense of humor, which is unusual. Sometimes people don't get it. David got it. You got it. And he was much smarter than he wanted people to know. I don't know why he didn't want people to know, but he was smart. Sarcastic, but I love sarcasm, so that fits.
Okay, I had Kyle in web tech class, and we had to do Scratch, where they make projects, and he found a GIF of Snoop Dogg, and he would hide it in all of his projects, which turned out kind of funny. So there's one of them.
Me and Kyle would talk about our hair. He wanted a beard like mine. I wanted a mohawk like his.
I never had Kyle as a student, but he had Mrs. Dykins last year, and on the way to and from her class, he would talk to me about music. You know, he never joined choir, but I could tell that Kyle was somebody that was very, very passionate about music, especially the music that he liked. So every now and then I would be playing Led Zeppelin or Metallica when he'd come through, and he'd look at me and say, "Cool song, Mr. Young." And I don't know, I never had a bad interaction with him. It was always just me and him talking about music, talking about singing, and how apparently he was a terrible singer.
I was in Girl Scouts. I was always the odd one out. His mom had to always lug him around to all the Girl Scout meetings because she didn't have anybody to take care of him. So he'd sit in the corner and play on his little Game Boy or his little game console he had at the time. So I would go sit with him and play games.
Kyle, my memory of him is, we talked about music kind of that week before, that last week I saw him that Friday. And he did this assignment, which I found afterward, and he had to create his own island, and he called it Chuck Norris's Hidden Kingdom, which is very Kyle. And he also wrote, that he would have a democracy, and that was a lot like Kyle too, because he talked about how everyone should have a voice, and that we should. They had demographics and older people on the island, and they had to deal with them, and he put that they should use them as a council so that they could give them advice, and I thought that was very much sweet, like he is. And he put on his must-do responsibilities for the citizens of his island, he put that they had to help take care of one another, and they had to help maintain the peace. Those were his two things that you had to do if you were on his island, which is what I would imagine it.
I knew Adam for 2 years. I'm the counselor here at Navajo. And I kind of have a funny story that happened a few weeks before Adam passed away. I had went to the bathroom and left my phone on top of the toilet. So when I turned around, the phone fell in the toilet. And so I picked it out and I was freaking out, and I ran to the workroom, and Adam jumped in right away. And even though it had nasty Navajo toilet water on it, he tried to save my phone, and he did save my phone's life. And he opened it up and he dried it out, and it started working again.
Okay, I'm Riley Avila. I'm a freshman at Navajo High School and I'm 14 years old. And me and Adam are really close friends. And my favorite memory of Adam was we were always the troublemakers in study hall, and we were in Miss Squine's class, and we'd always give her a hard time, Adam and Derek. And we were in there one day and we were just talking, and the bell rung, and Adam was the last one caught to be talking. So she's like, Adam, you have to stay behind in class and wait a couple minutes before you can go. And she's like, Adam, you just haven't changed at all since last year. I was like, well, he does when he tries. And so I got him out of trouble when we left class early, and that's my favorite memory with Adam.
Hi, I'm Dallas Cox. I'm a freshman at Navajo. I'm 14 years old. My favorite memory with Adam was when we were in Miss Cross's class. He was like, you won't throw that paper at Miss Cross. I said, I won't. He said, no, you won't. I grabbed the paper, I crumbled it up, I threw it at her, hit her right in the forehead. She said, who did that? And everyone, like me, Riley, Madison, Holden, Jesse, everyone pointed right at him. And later that day, Adam had to go to the office and do all of his work for the next day in-house. Thank you. That was my favorite memory.
My name is Riley Newman, and I'm a freshman at Navajo, and I'm 15. And Adam has been my best friend since 5th grade. And my favorite memory of him was I'd always drive my motorcycle to his house after school because he lived close to the school. And we were outside, and he had his Letterman jacket on without the shirt on under it. And his mom drove up, and she rolled down the window, and she had this really like old 70s song. I don't know what it was, but she played it really loud. And Adam like turned around against the car, and he looked right at me with like a straight face, and he like puts his hands on his hips, and he starts like bouncing and like dancing. And then he was just like dancing, and he would like turn around and like get up on the car and like shake his butt or something like that. He'd turn around and he'd like whip his head back that way and look at me. It was just really funny. And that's my favorite memory that I have of him, and thank you.
I'm Molly Carter. I'm a freshman at Navajo, and Adam was one of my really good friends. And I just want to say how much he would always remind me that he cared about me. Like the last Saturday I saw him, we were at Kava, his favorite coffee shop, and he just reminded me how much he cared about me and how much he wanted me to be happy. And that's all I want to say.
In 7th hour, all of my friends were making fun of my pinky because it's kind of like crooked, because I broke it when I was 2. And after we got out of class, Adam wanted to know what they were laughing at, but I wouldn't tell him. And so Molly told him what they were laughing at, and he was like, is that why holding your hand felt so crooked? But he was holding the wrong hand.
My favorite memory of Adam is I went on a lot of church trips with him, and we were hanging out with Kylan one time, and Adam fell down the stairs while we were walking.
Do you know what's worth fighting for when it's not worth dying for? Does it take your breath away and you feel yourself suffocating? Does the pain weigh out the pride and you look for a place to hide? Did someone